Hello, everybody. Thank you for watching. 10:03 p.m. May the 4th be with you. May 4, 2022. News done differently. We're going to do the news done differently as we always do. And then for those that stick around, I'm going to share the first chapter of my latest book and give you an idea if you want to perhaps purchase it and read the rest of it, and it will give you an idea of why it's titled the way it is. But first, we are going to start off with the news as we always do, and it's the news has been bizarre. The news just keeps getting more bizarre. North Korea test fired a medium-range missile last night, a ballistic missile towards Japan. It was just a test. It was their 14th test this year, and it comes just ahead of them planning an actual nuclear detonation inside a mountain in North Korea, according to intelligence and allegedly. And if that's not enough, the Alaska Mosque on the Temple Mound, for those that have a spiritual background or background in church, you know that the Temple Mound and the actual presence of a temple is important in bringing about the end times, if you will. And the plan has been leaked that the Israeli army is going to basically take over Alaska Mosque tomorrow and raise the Israeli flag and declare it Israeli territory. That leak got out, and Hamas has called upon all Muslims to come and defend Alaska Mosque. And that's not even on anybody's radar because everybody's paying attention to the decline and eventual demise of Roe v. Wade and KCBUS and a woman's right to choose, and that justly so is the focus, and we've got news about that as well. I had a report this afternoon, a brief report, and in that report, some people said it was garbled, and I had internet problems today. I had phone problems today. I left my phone in the other room. I had phone problems today too. At one point, getting 5 texts from an individual all at one time, and not being able to see comments on a pro-choice rally that I was watching that kind of happened in downtown Indianapolis, a small rally. And I did the report this afternoon. Some said it came out garbled. Basically what it was just beware. If you're going to be in crowds, beware. It showed a couple of clips from what happened in LA last night, expecting the same thing in LA tonight, possibly in other bigger cities. And so don't be surprised if there is a late live breaking show. And if not, there will be a report tomorrow because some things are happening at Mar-a-Lago tonight as well in Florida. And we'll get to that. I ended the report with the 2 Proud Boys that showed up in Washington, D.C. And basically, this is an extenuation. This is something that wasn't
2024
covered in this afternoon's report. Just to recap from this afternoon, black and yellow, these are Proud Boy colors. The episode, they asked if they were Proud Boys. They said they didn't know. And then one of them said, I'd never heard of them. One said, I don't know. And the other said, I never heard of them, which is common. You want to disavow when you're not in large numbers. And the They're carrying a sign, as you can probably read here, help a brother out. And then it's got Roe v. Paid, and it's got coat hangers hanging underneath it, implying that they're going to be providing illegal abortions, trying to be funny, trying to be antagonistic. And the reason I'm playing this one is twofold. Let's listen.
Tucker, 2024. Tucker, 2024.
What about DeSantis?
I like DeSantis too.
Who do you prefer, Trump or
DeSantis,
DeSantis?
2024.
Trump or DeSantis?
DeSantis.
DeSantis. Who do you think is going to win?
Who are things?
My apologies. I should have known better. Let's try it again.
Tucker, 2024.
What about
since we rebooted, so to speak? He's saying Tucker 2024. Tucker Carlson. That's who a lot of the Republican base is thinking maybe should be the next president. The guy that told everybody to radiate their, or not everybody, told men to radiate your testicles. Bizarro news. Let's continue.
DeSantis?
I like DeSantis too.
Who do you prefer, Trump or
DeSantis,
DeSantis?
2024.
Trump or DeSantis?
DeSantis.
DeSantis. Who do you think is going to win?
Who are things going to win? Oh, I don't know. I can't answer that question.
I think Trump is going to try his best to pull something out of his ass, but I think enough of his base is just so tired of him not doing shit.
Yeah, I think his days are done.
Like, he's throwing his entire base under the bus. And
okay, it's hard to hear the guy. He says, I think Trump is going to try to pull something out of his ass, but we've had enough. People are tired of the guy. And then he talks about the fact that, see, these guys were conned, all right? Remember conservative? You're in the conning and somebody's serving you, or you're a servant and don't realize you're being conned. These guys all got conned. They got conned by Trump into thinking that he was going to be on their side when he was just using them for what he needed at that time. And then he was going to throw them under the bus. They've got it now. And for proof, stick around, because the next couple of segments here, I'm going to show you proof of what I'm talking about.
tired of him not doing shit.
I think his days are done.
Like, he's throwing his entire base under the bus. And it's like, I think it's pissing a lot of people off. It's pissed me off.
How did you throw them under the bus?
I mean, they're all still rotting in solitary for January 6th, and he still hasn't spoken out on that. It's like even the non-violent people, you know? So,
have you had any interactions with the other side, and how's that gone?
we had interactions with the pro-life side, and they told us to fuck off.
Really, the pro-lifers?
Yeah,
They called us fascists.
And aren't you?
Libertarian.
But no interactions with the pro-choice side so far?
Not yet.
No. We just walked through. They weren't bothering us. We weren't bothering them. I'm just here to make a dollar, bro.
So the pro-choice side, they walked through. They didn't bother the pro-choice side. The pro-choice side didn't bother them. They went to the pro-life side. The pro-life side told them to F off and called them fascist. So this could get very interesting. Things aren't exactly going to play out the way everybody thought. And I've told you that all along. This isn't going to play out like everybody thinks. It's going to be hard to find out who's on whose side, even for those doing the shooting, and God forbid, but if it does come to that. And again, here's the second part of it. They were told to F off by the pro-life group and called fascist.
Tucker, 20.
But this part, Tucker 2024. This is something that we're going to have to pay attention to. This is coming out of left field. I don't think they've seen all the videos yet. Speaking of which, we've got other videos, including I grew up. I was born in the late 50s, and I grew up in 60s and 70s, and the 90s, and I'm still growing up. Okay, I'm learning every day. I try to study every day. I try to learn every day. I'm still growing up. But the point being, you know, when you go to concerts in the 70s, always had a funny smell in the air, and people did a lot of pills back then, and you could tell when somebody was speeding, whether you know they were on cocaine or whatever they were on. I'm not sure which is more alarming, what Don Jr. is saying here, or how he's coming across here. Okay. And again, Chris Evans asked, you know, is he okay? Let's take a look. Bizarro news.
Guys, you saw the leak from the Supreme Court, an unprecedented thing. This kind of stuff doesn't happen. I don't know that I'm ever aware of a leak. This is not like Congress where everything leaks. And trust me, I've done enough testimony. Things are leaking during closed door hearings. I get it. The Supreme Court doesn't have leaks. So if there's not a thorough criminal...
By the way, it kind of flew under the radar, but Don Jr. testified in front of the January 6th committee yesterday. That means all of Trump's kids and his son-in-law have testified under the oath in the January 6th committee. However, Flynn, Pillow Guy, Alex Jones, Mark Meadows, they've all declined. Just something to think about.
Investigation into who leaked privileged documents about a draft decision from the United States Supreme Court, where a small, tiny handful of people have access to it, then we live in a clown show state. We live in a clown show state, folks. For perspective, the FBI sent, I believe it was 15 people to investigate a garage pull. Remember the NASCAR Bubba Wallace thing? Thought it was a noose. Well, it's a garage.
Okay, so now we're, you know, he's getting into the race stuff.
Pull, like basically on every garage of every NASCAR track that anyone's ever been at. Didn't matter. 15 people. And if they don't send people to investigate this, then again, we live in a clown show state. Guys, you saw the leak.
Okay. First of all, no. I've covered racing. I've been to several different racetracks. I've been inside pits. I've been inside garages. They don't have ropes tied in nooses. Now, they did in this one, and they said it was used to, you know, pull the door down. Most of them have connecting line from the top of the door down to the bottom, and you pull it down like that. So anyway, he's not okay. I don't know. Maybe it's a reach, but boy, he sure looks like somebody from the 70s that is just, you know, you're constantly going, dude, you know, calm down, chill out. We can't really understand what you're saying. But he's angry about that leak. The leak is not where the anger should be. The leak is in controlling women, and we'll get into that. But first, I got to scare you a little bit on Bizarro News, as one of everybody's favorite segments. What are the Russians saying? And they are getting. Maybe they are giving us an indication of how strongly we should fight for our freedom and against authoritarianism or fascism, whether it be foreign or domestic.
вот этой буквы Z, должны понимать, что если они рассчитывают, что их пощадят, нет, их не пощадят. Нет, это все по-серьезному уже. Это в случае чего концлагеря, перевоспитание, это, так сказать, стерилизация, это все очень серьезно.
Okay, let's go through this real quick. First of all, Dr. Evil, obviously, Dr. Evil with his tinted sunglasses and you know his the letter Z. When this first started, somebody, oh, I just battlefield market. No. This goes, yeah, it goes back, and it is the new swastika. And you're going to see that in the May parade, May 9th. And I just hope we don't start seeing the fascist here in red armbands with a Z on it. But don't be surprised if you don't. And do understand what it means. Opponents of the letter Z must understand if they are counting on mercy.
Буквы Z должны знать, что если они рассчитывают, что их пощадят, нет, их не пощадят.
No, there will be no mercy for them. It's all became very serious. In the case, it means
это все по-серьезному уже. Это в случае чего концлагеря, перевоспитание.
Concentration camps, re-education, sterilization. Same thing same thing the Nazis did. They're following the exact same fascist plan, including the propaganda, which we've shown you on here many times. The same rules of propaganda.
Это все очень серьезно.
It's very serious, according to them. And so this is what some Ukrainians are going through right now. Over 1 million Americans dead today because of COVID, which never had to happen. Over 1 million Ukrainians have been taken from Ukraine and transported to Russia, and they're going through the things that this guy is talking about: concentration camps, forced labor, sterilization. They want to basically, come on, I don't want it on full screen. There we go. Get me out of there. Thank you very much. I'm going to come back to that, and we're going to go to Madison Cawthorn. BIZZARO world. In this video, Madison is saying the media is pushing a narrative that I'm some kind of drag queen on the side. This is just poor journalism, but I'm not surprised. It's Politico, after all, not exactly the same journalistic standards as Fox or Newsmax. Newsmax has no journalistic standards or very little. Fox, there's some journalists on there. Most of them are on there for 2 or 3 minutes at a time. The asshats are on there for hours at a time, and they are entertainment. They are not news. So they don't have to be factual. It's not important. But yet it's portrayed as news, and it's brainwashed a whole lot of people, and they may never come back, sadly. But I'm still hopeful. I'm hopeful some of them see this, even if just this little tiny bit, and go, ooh, maybe I should watch something else, because you should. Because if you only look at one direction, you're only going to see one thing. So anyway, he's talking about a video that was leaked with, he put this out 5 hours ago, all right? Talking about a video that had been leaked that we showed on here. 3 hours, 2 hours after he released his video saying, you know, hey, it's no big deal. It's locker room talk, which is what Trump said and got away with it. He's trying to do the same thing. The difference is the Republican Party doesn't want him to. And a couple of weeks ago, I told y'all, I said, look, what's happening here? This isn't Democrats doing this to this kid. This is his party doing it to him because he told everybody about the cocaine, and that kind of got brushed over. Nobody's investigating where the cocaine came from, who had the cocaine. It'll be interesting when they do get this kid out if he talks. Now, he's got to get out, all right? Republican Party has given him enough. Okay, look, we got more. And they do have more, and I haven't shown you yet. It's coming up. They released it 2 hours after he put this out, saying that, you know, don't worry about it, don't worry about it, don't worry about it. They put out, and I'm not going to show all of this, but basically they put out a gay sex tape from Madison Cawthorn, him starring basically in a sex tape. Now, the party of Don't Say Gay, the party that's family values, this is not a good look. Madison Cawthorn, all this stuff coming out, all of this is going to be used or should be used against every Republican up and down the board. He ought to be the poster boy of this is who Republicans really are. If I was a Democrat strategist, and I can be for the right price, I would be running heavily on the lies and the whoa, stop this. No, oh, I'd be running heavily on the lies and hypocrisy of these people, because I got a list of over 800 with sexual charges, and 800 different Republicans, not 800 charges, 800 different Republicans with multiple charges going all the way up to Donald Trump, who's paid so many people off that nobody in the mainstream media talks about it, because they're all owned by the people that sit at the top. And we're all divided. And yet, remember what those Proud Boys said, you know, the Trump people, they're now calling them fascists. They're separating themselves. The pro taking away women's rights crowd told them to F off and called them fascists. They walked through the other side, and the other side left them alone, and they left them alone. A little bit of communication and a little bit of acceptance, and we can unite as a country. Not saying it would ever happen, just saying it could. Now, how severe is this decision on Roe? 6 hours ago, the Louisiana House Committee voted 7-2 to make abortions homicides, for which both the mother and the doctor can be charged. Okay? Homicide. Now, let me hop back up here for just a second. For those that ask, why does this matter to you? You're an old white guy. Why did you run on, why when you ran did you support a woman's right to choose? And I've answered that several times. I'll answer it again. I'm not a doctor and I'm not a woman. And it's none of my business what a woman does with her body. And biblically, the Bible says, God says, when you are born, I breathed life into you. The Bible says a person is a person at birth. The government says a person is a person at birth. You can't get a social security card before you're born. You can't be counted in a census before you're born. You're not a U.S. citizen before you're born. But yet, religion has been weaponized. It's been taught for so long that a woman is, well, substandard to begin with, and then she's not smart enough to decide what to do with her own body, and now it's just, we got to go for full control. I got a funny bit by George Carlin I'm going to end with, but there's nothing funny about this. I've got daughters. I've got granddaughters. And it wouldn't matter. I would still believe that a woman has the right to decide with her doctor what is best for her health. And I'm going to read this from Elizabeth. The treatment for an ectopic pregnancy is abortion. The treatment for a septic uterus is abortion. The treatment for a miscarriage that your body won't release is abortion. If you can't get those abortions, you die. You, period, die, period. Now, this isn't going to matter to the rich, no matter what party they're in. They're going to get themselves taken care of. This is aimed at controlling the middle class, controlling especially those of us that aren't in the middle class, that we're in the low class. It's about control. If you can't get these abortions, you die. Louisiana just voted 6 hours ago. It's homicide for anybody that performs to make abortions homicides. Both the mother and the doctor can be charged. These people are playing God. Okay? And I've read the Bible, and God doesn't like it when people do that. Just saying. You know, you can look all you want, but what the Bible says is, God says, when you're born, I breathed life into you. I'll let God be the judge. Maybe we'd be a better country, a better people, a better world, a better humanity if we all decided to do that. I'm going to play the George Carlin thing in just a minute. I told you I had proof that they're not all happy with Trump. And I want to pull this up. This is from court documents. Another one of the Proud Boy leaders, the Oath Keeper leaders, I think one of the Oath Keeper leaders, yes, one of the Oath Keeper leaders, and was messaging with one of the Proud Boy leaders. They were in a private suite. This isn't included here. I'm just giving you a little backstory. On January 6th, communicating for orders on what to do. And Tim Wilson, in a message titled Red Alert, Oath Keepers Warning, Order Part 1, quote, he addressed President Trump, and Rhodes reiterated that Trump still had time to, quote, honor your oath, and warned that, quote, domestic enemy wolves will be at the door of all your supporters as well. Okay? We will have no choice but to honor our oaths, and we will fight back when they come for us. The fight is coming no matter what we do. All right, there were about 6,000 people around the Capitol building. There have been 700 arrests. Doing the math, that means 5,300 people thought about taking part, but didn't or haven't been arrested yet. Small percentage is what we're hearing from. The people on the streets, those two oath keepers that we saw earlier in the episode, they said they're sick of Trump. Do they go after the Trump people because Trump and his people threw them under the bus? I'd be really concerned. If I was Marco Rubio, if I was Ted Cruz, if I was Jim Jordan, if I was McCarthy, if I was any top-ranking Republican, they probably don't know about any of this. They probably don't care because they are so wrapped up in their superiority and their privilege that they think they're all. Everybody that's afraid of the government coming after guns, you just wait. If these guys went after a couple of top-ranked Republicans and took out a couple or took out several, there would be a tremendous outcry from Republicans to take everybody's guns. The elite in Washington, D.C. are for themselves, okay? Democrats occasionally do things for the people, occasionally. Republicans normally do things to try to oppress the people. And they color it up and they disguise it and they wrap it in pretty ribbons and bows, and they call the names, names of the laws are great. The Patriot Act. It'll be patriotic to be spied on 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. That's what happened. Okay. You can argue with me. I don't, and that's fine. I hope people are watching this that have a different view, because the only way we're ever going to come together is by hearing each other's views. And man, do I hear a lot of views from the other side. Anyway, if I was one of those people that the January 6th committee is looking at, but nothing's happened to, I'd be concerned because, number one, they're pissed off. And I don't think they're the only two. And they will commit violence. Those of us on the opposition side, the loyal opposition to the fascists, we're loyal to America and we oppose the fascists, the authoritarianism, the kleptomocracy, whatever you want to call it. We oppose that, but we are loyal to America. And violence is a last resort, not a first option. And we may be getting to the last resort, but as far as the other side and them infighting and that split that's been happening, and I predicted that right after January 6th, I said, okay, this is the pro-Trump half of the Republican Party is either going to have to, disavow him or there's going to be a major fracture. And that major fracture has happened and it's coming. And it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. Because tomorrow's May 5th, and that's when the great rise is supposed to happen from the Salt Army that's all white. That's why they're called the Salt Army. It's pure white. And if it ain't white, it ain't right, is their motto. I think they might be counting on a lot of these oath keepers and 3%ers, and they may not have the numbers. They may go ahead and rise up just to rise up, but I don't necessarily know it would be in support of Trump. Why do I bring that all up? There is a big event going on tonight in Mar-a-Lago. One of the whack jobs has produced a movie. The movie's called 2000 Mules. They're debuting. It's the world premiere of the movie tonight in Mar-a-Lago. And the little Rittenhausen boy that looks like Leave It to Beaver that killed all those people in Kenosha, Wisconsin, got off on it. He's there. Of course, Marjorie Taylor Greene's there. All the usual suspects. And this movie is supposed to give the actual legal proof that the election was stolen and Joe Biden's presidency is illegitimate, and that Biden's going to be removed from office tomorrow after they see this movie, and Trump's going to give the green light tonight, and it's all going to go down. All right. Hopefully none of that happens. I know the movie's going to happen. I know they're going to claim that, oh, this proves, just like the My Pillow guy. But this troubled me.
No matter what you did. And I took one, and it was an amazing thing. They now call me a dictator and other things, but they don't call you stupid. And
he's okay with being called a dictator.
I decided to take one because the fake news was having fun no matter what you did. And I took one, and it was an amazing thing. They now call me a dictator and other things, but they don't call you stupid.
Why would he say that?
And I just...
Okay, he took a test where he had to remember 5 words and then say those words back. It was person, woman, man, camera, TV, and it was a test to see if he had Alzheimer's, and he passed it. He got all 5 of them right and was so happy, and uses that. And he uses it in his speeches. If you watch this, if you see the speeches when we cover him live, he uses it all the time. I took the test, I passed it. He said, Mr. President, we've never seen anybody do this good. That's because most of the people with Alzheimer's don't do that good. It's not like he passed test to get into Mensa or something. But he's okay with being called a dictator and concerning. So, like I said, when this is done, I'm going to try to keep this fairly short, and we will, I'll be monitoring throughout the night, especially paying attention to what he says down there at Mar-a-Lago after this blockbuster world premiere. I want to show you just real quick these 3 tweets. The tweets are all identical. For those of you that have never experienced or have been concerned or might even just in passing wonder, what is a bot and how do bots work, and how do other countries influence elections with bots? Here you got an example. You got 3, Elizabeth, Sharon, and Lauren. Okay, 3 American names. All the accounts are bogus. All 3 tweets say the same thing. To make it perish, first make it mad. The end result of American acceleratism is to hasten the decline of the United States. Obviously, it's Chinese media, and but yet, guys, especially like the doofus we showed in last night's episode, are just going to see Elizabeth Pierce. I wonder if she's hot. I'll text her. And you see that there's numerous retweets, but no likes. All right. They're all tweeting. This is one computer with several different names, several different accounts, all tweeting the same thing and having those robot accounts retweet the other robot accounts. That's how it's done. And here's an example of somebody caught, conspirator. And I want to give my voice a break here before I read the first chapter and get a drink. And I want to play for you. Actually, I'm not going to. I'm going to play that at the very end because I may get a copyright violation on this. What the heck? I'll go ahead and play it now because I got it pulled up. For those of you that don't know, this was a comedian. He's passed away, named George Carlin. And a very popular comedian, especially in the 1970s, late 60s, 70s, and 80s. And this was something he did about 30 years ago. Yes, I forgot. So we'll catch the end of that. I'll play that again at the very end of the episode, just in case it is a copyright violation. It'll be easier to clip out at the end. So that could BIZZARO news, and gives us a lot to think about. And again, I'll be monitoring things throughout the night, and if necessary, we'll be back on live. And otherwise, there'll be a report tomorrow afternoon, probably, getting us up to date on what's gone on. And then tomorrow night, unless something mega happens, I said mega, not MAGA, but if something MAGA happens, then tomorrow night we'll cover that too. But we're going to get into QAnon tomorrow night. We're going to get into what is known as the Q drops, how all this started, how all of this is, what all of this is based off of. It's given access to the site where all the information is, and we're going to take a look at it tomorrow night. So if you're leaving, thank you for watching. I'm going to read the first chapter of my book. It's called America, Land of the Greed and Home of the Grave. Hop into chat here real quick for just a second. Hi, Sissy. Hi, Sibling Party. Hi, Renee. And did I catch everybody that's in here? Let me go up here a little bit and make sure. All right. Thank you all. Thank you all for watching. And thank you all in the chat. No matter what platform you're watching on, thank you. And do leave a comment. I only see the comments in chat from the YouTube channel. But if you're on Twitter or if you're on Facebook or one of the other platforms, go ahead and leave a comment. And right now I'm going to read the first chapter of America, Land of the Greed, Home of the Grave. Sheldon! Sheldon! The female voice echoed through the 8-story walls of the apartment complex, but Sheldon did not hear them. He was not supposed to leave the apartment complex, but the draw of the ocean was too much. He was riding the bicycle the 3 miles to the shoreline. Sheldon was lonely. Most of his friends had evacuated, been contracted out as labor, or had been killed by a virus or violence. Sheldon knew his mother would be angry with him for leaving the grounds, but even more so with him going out exposed without a face mask. He'd left it on the table in his haste, and it was an ultra-high risk virus day. His mom would also be mad if she knew he had a bicycle. His had been taken away and sold because of rides like the one he was now taking. A ride that would end on the rock outcropping overlooking the ocean that Sheldon had called Lookout Point since he was 7 and his father first took him there to the location. It was his spot to look out over the ocean and close enough to see the estate to the north where the yacht that his father worked on was docked when it was not at sea. He wanted to ask his dad about getting a job on the boat if he could overcome his fear to help his family. As he rode, he passed blocks of houses with signs in the yard supporting various politicians in elections that were coming in the fall, interspersed with vacant and boarded up houses. Sheldon should have been going into the 10th grade at the local school, but hadn't been at a school in 3 years since the latest virus struck. He was one of the lost generations that slipped through the cracks of the decimated education system. The de-emphasized importance of education had been one of the focuses of the pre-virus culture, and after virus rebuilding, did not find room in the budget to restart a public education system on a national scale. Sheldon was in one of the areas that were hardest hit economically, and conditions continued deteriorating on a rapid and decimating level. He was smart and knew that if he could get a job on the boat, he would be protected and vaccinated, as his father was. As Sheldon approached his destination, he could see someone up on the rocks. The closer he got, the clearer it became that it was a large black man standing on the outcropping. Sheldon stopped the bike about 20 yards from the rocks. The man was wearing a long black leather duster coat and was holding a disc-shaped listening device in his right hand pointed in the direction of the estate, and a collapsible telescope in his left hand down by his side. Sheldon thought he had stopped far enough away that the man had not noticed him, but the man spoke without looking at him. "What's your name, young one?" "Sheldon." "What are you doing here, Sheldon?" the man continued. "I come here to see if my dad may be coming home. He works on the ship at the estate over there." "What are you doing here?" Sheldon retorted. The man quickly turned his eyes to Sheldon when he said that his dad worked at the estate, and he held the gaze as he collapsed the telescope and put it into the right side of his coat, and then collapsed the listening device and put it into the left side of his coat. "I'm keeping an eye on the people that own that estate," the man said with a smile. "For the government?" Sheldon asked. "No, for a secret group called Koto that protects America." The man began to climb down the rocks as he spoke. "Never heard of it," Sheldon spoke. "Well, then the secret is working." "Why aren't you in school, Sheldon?" the man asked as he reached the ground. "There hasn't been a school around here for a long time. We had e-learning over the computer for a while, but our computers kept getting stolen. Besides, with a computer or a smartphone, you can find out whatever you want. So who needs school or to learn anything?" Sheldon tossed back smugly. "That is exactly how they want you to think," the man said, shaking his head negatively as he walked the 6 steps towards the nearby street. "Who wants me to think like that? A friend told me that, and it made sense. I think for myself." Sheldon started to get angry. "The people in charge want you to think like that, Sheldon. They want you dumb and strong so your parents can sell you to work the disinfecting corps. You could be demanding an education, and you should be, not flaunting you aren't getting one." The man looked down the road toward an approaching car. "What's your name?" Sheldon asked as the black sedan with black tinted windows pulled up beside the man. "Sam." "Take it easy, Sheldon," the man says as he entered the open door of the vehicle and shut it behind him. As the vehicle sped away, Sheldon said, "Yeah, you know it all, old man. It's easy to have all the answers when you're rich enough to have the vaccines." Protective face masks had become the new norm after virus. They had also become social dividers. The more money people had, the better their masks were. From a cloth wrap around the face to those that did not wear masks at all because they had the vaccines, with various purchased masks in between. Now, there had been numerous viruses that started back in the 2020s, but they were mild compared to CV32. Sheldon pedaled the bicycle the remaining feet toward the outcropping and stopped at the base. He climbed the rocks and looked toward the estate. The pier jutted out 500 yards into the constant push of the ocean, and there were no boats moored. Sheldon was deflated at the thought that his father would not be coming home yet again that night. He usually would sit down and look out at the sea and watch for ships to pass by, but on that day he climbed down from the rocks and began his ride back to where he called home. He knew being out without a mask was not smart. It took Sheldon just over a half hour to ride home and stow the bicycle in its hiding place behind the incinerator. The elevator in the building was broken, and Sheldon made the climb to the 8th floor up the interior staircase. Mirrors had been installed in the corners of the stairway so that people could see if others were on the stairs and take distancing measures to avoid contact. Sheldon had an unobstructed path to the top of the building. Sheldon could hear his mother coughing from outside the apartment before he opened the door and entered. "Mom, are you okay?" Sheldon said when he came in the door that entered the kitchen and closed the door behind him. "I'm fine, just a cough from yelling for you. Where have you been, and did you sign up for a reality TV show?" his mom called from the front room. "Way Out? Did Way Out call? It's the teenage version of Eye in the Sky, where you are quarantined in the house with cameras everywhere, and you can win masks and trips and even vaccine for yourself and your whole family." Sheldon excitedly asked. "I think that was it. The number's on the phone. It's on the table beside your face mask, which you should have been wearing since you've been outside. You're going to bring virus in here because you're not responsible with your actions," his mother called as she walked towards the kitchen. "I'm sorry, Mom. I didn't do it on purpose. I won't go out without a mask again, I promise," Sheldon sincerely spoke. "Is he coming home?" his mom asked quietly. "Who?" Sheldon asked as he held the phone waiting to call. "You know who. Mrs. Bailey from the 3rd floor saw you riding away on a bike. I'm assuming you went to see if the yacht was anchored and your dad was coming home, or you would have come back for your mask being gone this long," his mom said knowingly. "No, it wasn't there. Can I call now?" Sheldon asked. His mom nodded in the affirmative and then spoke. "But I'm staying in the room," and put the call on speaker. Sheldon dialed the number and put the phone on speaker and walked to the door to the outside and looked out as the sun was disappearing behind the neighboring twin building. Moments later, the sun was setting over the Pacific Ocean. The first 1/8 of the giant glowing orb had disappeared below the distant horizon, and clouds far out to sea created an orange and purple hue where the ocean and sky met to the eye. Behind a $1 billion, 36-room, 3-storied stone mansion overlooking the coastline, 2 older white men sat on a cement bench and looked out at the view. The smell of the salt from the sea and the orange blossoms competed for aromatic dominance. "See that, Braxton?" the skinny, taller, older man with the clean-shaven face asked. "The water or the sunset?" the shorter, heavier set, balding man with the baseball cap and goatee questioned. "Answering a question with a question is defensive, Braxton. You know that. But I mean the sun." "Yes, Avery, I see the sun going down." Braxton took a drink of the scotch on the rocks from his glass that he was holding. "The sun is going down indeed. The sun is setting for the straight white man, Braxton. The very men that made this country great are now at the bottom of the pecking order, and they did it to themselves by relinquishing power. If we don't do something, and I mean now, we lose everything our forefathers fought for. It is our patriotic duty to act. At least that is what we're going to tell them. So, Avery, what you're saying is we hit the reset button. put the straight white American males back in complete power and hope they do better and learn their lesson. Is that what I'm hearing? Oh, if it were that simple, Braxton. And that would not be simple, but no. To save this nation, we have to make sure there are enough straight white males left to do our bidding after it is over. At least that is what we will tell them, so they will go along while we run the nation and we decide our successors. That is the only way that we can make certain the country has a future. We are what they've always called the deep state, and it is a time we come out of those shadows. Ours are the only two families that can make this happen, and we owe it to the country. I was at both political conventions back in 2016, and I went to the others because we were sponsors of both parties. And in 2016, the people came so close to taking the country back. It was frightening how close they came, and we can never let that happen again. I know it was years ago, but I still shudder at the thought. Avery, you said after it is over. After what is over? You said enough white men after it is over. What do you mean by that? You take power at the beginning of the swarm, when no one is paying attention to anything but the swarm. People that are involved will be so focused on staying alive, they will not know who's president, who are Supreme Court justices, or who's running the stock market. People that aren't involved in the swarm will be watching it nonstop on 24-hour TV news. We are just a few moves from taking over all of the necessary positions and more. Once we are in control, we provide basic health care, we provide minimum jobs, and lots of entertainment as distraction. And we control the public and continue to dominate the world. You mean America continues to dominate the world, Avery? You didn't mean you personally, as it sounded, correct? Oh, of course. And we know it would be the best for the future of the country and the safety of the world. Are you with me, Braxton? Avery, what is this swarm you're talking about? Braxton, I'm talking about a perfect storm of orchestrated events that will winnow the population of the weakest, the most dangerous, and those hardest to control. How it plays out is not important. All we need is for it to begin when and how we want it to. It won't be as difficult since so many people died in the plagues that started in 2020, but there are still too many people in the country. Does that answer your question, Braxton? No, it doesn't. You could be talking about some sort of race war, further economic collapse, internment, war between the sexes, overthrowing the government, martial law, lawlessness, anarchy, another manufactured plague. I'm not sure what you're talking about. All of them, Braxton. I'm talking about all of them. So many people are oblivious. They are born, become what they are told to become, get married, have kids, save money for when they are old, and then they die, never realizing that they were slaves to our system the whole time. Unnecessary taxes, interest rates, mortgages, loans, insurance. These are all ways to keep the average person down and make those of us at the top richer, and they wouldn't have it any other way. They will fight and die to keep it that way. It's easy to keep people in slavery when they don't know they're slaves. A war between the blacks, Asians, Latinos, and ignorant whites who keep on believing someone's going to come and take their guns, and they're scared of everybody different from them. Those ignorant whites are the key. All that would take is a little prompting, and all of that easily happens. Now, all police officers must be first killed, and then there's no one to enforce the law. And after that, well, when things are at that point, we make our move. We take over the government. We take over the world trade market. We take over all the communication and broadcasting. And most importantly, we take over the military. And after we let things play out in the states and in the streets, we begin to clean up the mess that was created by us, Avery. Well, isn't that how it always is, Braxton? Yes, of course it is. We have no choice, Braxton. There was another family trying to make a move and almost did it through the elections. If they would have stayed in power, we would have never gotten them out. Imagine if a real estate con man and his kids running the nation for decades. Ha! We can't take a chance on anything like that ever happening again. There was a time our two families decided who was in power by running for office. And then we bought elections, and we can't take a chance on that anymore with the internet and with so many people being partially informed. Elections have to be abolished, and people accept that they will be told what is best for them in their lives, and they can go back to how they were before the uprising, or they can have much better lives if they go along. Now, those that don't accept the new freedoms are obviously part of the uprising, and a bounty will be placed on all of them. Uprising? Braxton interrupted. It will be framed for history as the uprising and never a purge or orchestrated swarm. We never use those words in public. That is for our ears only. The uprising will be what saves the nation, and no one will know that we were behind it all. Once it's successful, we will be celebrated as the new founding fathers of this great land. What about Congress? What about the Constitution? Or the senator from New England that won't go away? Braxton casually asked. There will be no need for Congress. They just get in the way anyway, and we'll all be conveniently caught in the purge and become martyrs for justice and an excuse for revenge on those responsible wherever they may be. The Constitution is old, Braxton, and won't be missed. Hey, it's getting dark out here. Let's go inside to the game room. And if you're in, I will share the details on how this will all happen over another glass of scotch and a game of backgammon. Chadwick Dudley was going to join us, but he got cold feet. Too bad for him and his family. And we cannot afford to let another family become involved. Now it's up to you. Are you in or out? Do I go this alone? Should we take this to the Bohemian Grove? Braxton asked in reference to the powerful secret fraternity of men. The two men stood up and started walking across the immaculately mowed yard towards the main wing of the mansion. Avery shook his head no as he spoke. Too many of them might have to be eliminated. I'm in, but I have to talk to my sister before I commit the family. You know that, Avery. Of course. Give her my regards, please, Avery smirked. She doesn't want your regards. She still wants your head on a platter. Braxton shot back as Avery opened the door to allow Braxton to be the first to enter the mansion. Braxton, old boy, isn't that how most ex-wives would like to see the head of their ex-husband? And how is her son, Jimmy? He's gone by the name Derek for many years now, and you know that, Braxton said with a distasteful snarl as the door closed behind and security gates, or as the door closed and security lights ignited, illuminating the entire complex. So that's chapter 1 of the book. Thank you for those that stuck around for it. And let me know what you think. Let me know in the comments. And no matter where you saw it at, whatever platform you saw it, let me know what you think. The link to buy that book, as well as my 2 previous novels, are in the descriptions, I believe, on all the platforms. So again, thank you all for watching. It is 11:08, so just over an hour, and I didn't want to go that long, but again, a lot of bizarro news. I'm going to be monitoring what's happening. If there's any word out of Mar-a-Lago, if he gives a green light, I'm not anticipating any of that, honestly, despite all the chatter about January 5th. After seeing the Proud Boys out there, I know I've got a different vibe. I could be totally wrong, but eventually something's going to happen with them. It just may not be as we all think. And that call may yet come tonight. We'll find out. Also, we're going to monitor what's going on in the center of Jerusalem at the Temple Mount and Al-Aqsa Mosque. Something happens there. It sets off dominoes. I'll just leave it at that for now. So I love you all. Thank you for watching. Again, let me know what you thought about the first chapter of the book. And I do appreciate you sticking around for it. Have a great evening. And I'll be back tomorrow for sure with probably twice a report during the day. If there's no report during the day, you know, everything's cool. And then we'll come on tomorrow night and talk about Q. It's going to be an interesting episode. You're going to learn a lot about how all this started and how absolutely absurd everything is, but yet how deeply the belief is rooted in some of these people. So namaste, shalom, salam, blessings upon each and every one of you. Peace. I love you. Thank you for